Sun synchronous orbit. The mid-inclination orbit fills in gaps for our customers that want to expand their coverage or complete unique mission objectives, because changing the inclination of an orbit changes the way that a satellite moves around the Earth. Mid-inclinations offer a higher revisit rate, meaning that satellites in this orbit fly over the same point on Earth faster than they would in some other orbits. Rideshare missions significantly increase access to space for small satellite operators around the world, and we're committed to continuing these launch opportunities for our customers. To date, SpaceX has launched 1,100 small sats for more than 130 customers across our entire rideshare program. To learn more about the program, please visit spacex.com/rideshare. And with that, we are back to today's countdown, and everything is looking...
Engine chill has started.
Confirmation there that engine chill has begun on board Falcon 9 ahead of our 129th launch of the year. Weather here on the West Coast is green, with a 90% chance of acceptable launch weather at our T0 time, which again is 3:34 a.m. Pacific. Great clear views from the West Coast here, and if you're joining us on the ground in Vandenberg, you know it's about 50 degrees out with light ground winds. The range is ready to support, but if for some reason we don't launch today, we do have a backup opportunity tomorrow at 3:12 a.m. Pacific time.
Stage 1, RP1 load is complete.
Confirmation there that RP1, or Rocket Propellant 1, has been fully loaded onto our first stage. One final note on our webcast tonight. At our customer's request, we will be ending our webcast a little bit earlier than usual today, so we'll be wrapping up our coverage just after the landing of our first stage booster. Now with that, let's meet the vehicle taking our 30 Bandwagon-2 payloads to orbit. Falcon 9 is a two-stage rocket designed for the reliable and safe transport of satellites, cargo, and people to outer space. At the very top of the rocket is our payload fairing. The fairing is a protective shell that houses all of the spacecraft, shielding them from aerodynamic heating and mechanical stress until the vehicle is outside the Earth's atmosphere. The aerodynamic shape of the fairing also contributes to Falcon 9's overall efficiency, helping to reduce drag while the vehicle accelerates through the atmosphere. Once in space, the two fairing halves separate to expose the payloads to the vacuum of space. The fairing halves then fall back to Earth, where they are recovered by SpaceX to be refurbished and reused on future flights. The fairing for this mission is flight-proven. One half is flying for the 18th time today, and the other for the 14th. Right below the fairing, we have
Falcon 9 tanks are pressing for strongback retract.
Confirmation there that our tanks are pressurizing so that we can begin to pull the strongback, or the transporter erector, which is the large truss structure to the right of the rocket, just a little bit away from Falcon 9 in preparation for liftoff. Right in the middle of the rocket, you can see our black carbon fiber inner stage, where the MVAC engine is located. The inner stage connects the two stages and houses the center pusher that allows the first
Strongback lower has started.
And second stages to separate during flight. And there we heard that call out from Mission Control that we're beginning to lower the strongback away from the vehicle. Below the inner stage, we have the first stage, which is what we've been referring to tonight as the booster. The first stage makes up the bottom 2/3 of the vehicle and has 9 Merlin 1D engines at the bottom. Those 9 Merlin engines do the bulk of the work to get the rocket off the ground and up to the thinner parts of the Earth's atmosphere, generating more than 1.7 million pounds of thrust. About 2.5 minutes into flight, the first stage will separate and make its way back to Earth, attempting a land landing at LZ-4, which is not too far from our launch pad. Great views on our screen there of that strong back retracting away from Falcon 9. And with T-minus 3 minutes and 36 seconds, all systems continue to be go for an on-time liftoff. At liftoff, the transporter erector is going to retract all the way away from the rocket to clear the way for Falcon 9's ascent. Now, at this point in the countdown, both the first and second stages are nearly fully loaded with 1 million pounds of kerosene fuel and liquid oxygen. Falcon 9 uses 2 propellants, a refined form of kerosene called RP1, or Rocket Propellant 1, as fuel, and liquid oxygen, or LOX for short, as an oxidizer.
Stage 1 LOX load is complete.
There's confirmation of LOX load complete on our first stage booster. So now we are also standing by for that call for our second stage. Then the next major milestone after that will be at T-minus 60 seconds, where you'll hear our mission control announce that Falcon 9 is in startup mode. That means that the rocket's autonomous internal flight computers have taken over the launch countdown. Then just inside of T-minus 2 seconds, we will light the Merlin 1D engines for liftoff. Of course, right now we're continuing to monitor all the vehicle systems and keeping an eye on our payloads. Right now, the Bandwagon-2 payloads continue to be healthy, and the Falcon 9 team is tracking no issues on the rocket. The weather is green with more than a 90% chance of go at liftoff, and the range is ready to support our T0 of 3:34 a.m. Pacific. We're standing by for these final callouts in our last...
Stage 2 LOX load is complete.
There's confirmation of LOX load complete on the vehicle. And with that, we are just a little bit more than a minute and a half away from launch. Great visual right now as we
Gas launch closeout has started.
vent the TE line on the strongback, which is part of our gas closeout process.
Falcon 9 is in startup.
There's that confirmation of startup mode. And at this point, we are standing by for our final go for launch.
LD is go for launch.
With that, we are coming up on just over 30 seconds, and all systems are go for Falcon 9's launch of Bandwagon-2.
T-minus 30 seconds. T-minus 15 seconds. T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ignition. And liftoff of the Falcon 9. Go SpaceX, go Bandwagon-2.
Vehicle pitching downrange.
Stage 1 propulsion is nominal.
We've had good callouts from Mission Control that everything is looking good or nominal, as you're hearing from Mission Control. And these nighttime views, of course, mean that we are about about 40 seconds into the launch of our Bandwagon-2.
Power and telemetry are nominal.
Confirmation there that power and telemetry are both looking good. And we are currently throttling down the rocket to prepare for max Q, the point of maximum...
Supersonic.
With that call out, we know that Falcon 9 is moving faster than the speed of sound. And again, max Q is our next major milestone here.
Max Q.
That confirmation is important because max Q is the point of maximum aerodynamic stress on the vehicle. And with that, we now have several...
started.
Confirmation that we're beginning to chill the MVAC engine ahead of second engine start 1, which is just one of several events that we have coming up in quick succession here. Our next major milestone will be main engine cutoff, or MECO, where we will shut down the 9 Merlin engines on board the first stage. Shortly thereafter, we'll have stage separation, where that pusher within the inner stage will be activated to separate the first and second stages from each other. Then we'll flip the first stage around so it can make its way back to Earth, which you'll hear called out as Stage 1 flip, then Second Engine Start 1, or SES 1, before the start of our boost back burn.
Main engine cutoff.
There's confirmation of
Stage
MECO
separation confirmed.
and stage separation, with great views on your screen right there.
MVAC ignition.
Stage back startup.
And there we had confirmation that we have lit our MVAC engine on board the second stage, and you've got great views on your screen right now of the boost back burn for our first stage booster. The next milestone we're expecting to hear called out by Mission Control is fairing separation. During fairing separation, those two fairing halves, which again are flight proven for today's mission, are going to be jettisoned away from one another before falling back to Earth. SpaceX will attempt to recover those fairing halves again tonight. Reusability is key to lowering the cost of access to space, which is critical to enable
Fairing separation confirmed.
future scientific research. And with that, we do have fairing separation confirmed.
Stage back shutdown.
And confirmation that our boost back burn has ended. Now that our boost back burn is complete, Falcon 9 has 2 more burns in order to land its first stage booster. Our next major milestone is the entry burn on our first stage, which is scheduled to occur at about T plus 6 minutes and 32 seconds. The entry burn is the first of those 2 burns ahead of landing, and it's effectively pumping the brakes on board the first stage. We need to slow the rocket down before it hits the denser parts of the Earth's atmosphere. Without this burn, we'd be only using the atmospheric drag to slow down Falcon 9, which would add a lot of extra stress on the rocket. So instead, a single Merlin 1D engine relights for the entry burn. The entry burn is pretty quick, and we're expecting it to last about 20 seconds today. While it makes its way back to Earth, Falcon 9 is using 4 hypersonic grid fins, which are positioned near the top of the first stage to help steer as it heads back toward Landing Zone 4 at Vandenberg Space Force Base in California. And as I mentioned earlier, this is the 21st flight of this first stage booster, which has previously launched NROL 87, NROL 85, Sarah 1, SWOT, Transporter 8, Transporter 9, NROL 146, and 13 Starlink missions. Right now, we are just about a minute away from that entry burn. And then following the entry burn, the booster will go through its final burn, the landing burn, which will slow the vehicle down for a successful land landing. Just in case you've never joined us for a land landing before, hopefully tonight you'll have a good view of our landing legs. That's what Falcon 9 uses to touch down either on the landing zone or the drone ship. Those 4 landing legs are made of carbon fiber with aluminum honeycomb and placed symmetrically around the base of the rocket. We should see them deployed just prior to landing. Of course, if you're joining us from Vandenberg, we're hoping that you will have a great view as this booster makes its way back to Earth for the 21st time, targeting a land landing at Landing Zone 4, which is just next to our launch pad. There's confirmation that this burn has begun. And again, we're expecting the entry burn to last just about 20 seconds. Getting some good views of those grid fins as well. And confirmation of shutdown. As always, you can continue to follow the trajectory of both Stage 1 and Stage 2 in the bottom corners of your screen. Some views of the California coast coming in behind those grid fins on your screen at the moment. Fun fact, today's launch is the first launch of winter here in the Northern Hemisphere, as the winter solstice was just about 2 hours ago at 1:21 a.m. Pacific time.
Stage 1, FTS is saved.
Confirmation there that we're saved.
Stage train.
And that Falcon 9 is transonic.
Stage 2 terminal guidance.
You'll notice that
Stage 1 landing burn.
confirmation of our landing burn.
Stage 2, FTS is saved.
Landing leg deployed.
Impact shutdown.
We did get great views of those landing
Stage
legs
1 landing confirmed.
and have confirmation of stage 1 landing confirmed.
Nominal orbit insertion.
And nominal orbit insertion for our Bandwagon-2 payloads on board the second stage. With that successful landing at landing zone 4, this booster has completed 21 flights, and SpaceX has now landed 386 orbital class rockets. With that, we will bring today's webcast to a close. For those of you interested in learning more about today's payloads and deployments, please head over to our customers' websites for more information. We would like to thank all of our rideshare customers for entrusting us with their spacecraft today. And as always, a big thank you to the range and the FAA for their ongoing support. And finally, thanks to all of you for tuning in. We'll see you again soon.